enemy's war against us first takes place in our mind and emotions. The devil knows that nothing can be done about our born-again spirit since it already belongs to and is dedicated to Jesus. So he uses our minds to control our thoughts and emotions with lies. Jesus said of Satan, "He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it." John 8:44. His goal is to get our mind off of the promises of God through those mental attacks. In our new man, we have the mind of Christ, 1 Corinthians 2:16. When using the Word of God, we can go to war against the enemy's attacks on our mind and learn to replace the lies with the truths of God. For the Word of God is alive and powerful, and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the division of soul and spirit, and of joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. Hebrews 4:12. Neuroscientists have discovered that our mind cannot handle evil thoughts. When we think evil thoughts in anger, bitterness, jealousy, or unforgiveness, our mind cannot process these thoughts properly, and we end up destroying what we're trying to build. The Apostle Paul says, "Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, only think on these things." Philippians 4:8. Satan cannot do anything to you without your consent. He can only use your power of choice, and he does so by mixing a little bit of truth to get your attention, and then when you listen to that, he floods you with lies. That's why it's important to get filled up with the Word so you can discern the attacks on your mind. The Apostle Paul said, "Neither give place to the devil," Ephesians 4:27. "For we are not unaware of his devices," 2 Corinthians 2:11. The battle is between our old nature and our new nature. It's a daily conflict between God's plan for us and our own plan, and it requires discipline of our thoughts and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ, and having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. 2 Corinthians 10:5-6. One of Satan's favorite devices is compromise, to choose the more comfortable approach, the easier way. He makes complacency appealing. That is why we must be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. 1 Peter 5:8. Most of our bad habits are centered around compromise and comfort, but complacency is the enemy of victory. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. Romans 8:13. That's why we have to reevaluate our wrong habits, whether they be physical or emotional. Whoever therefore wants to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. James 4:4. Satan plays with our emotions and tries to make us live out those emotions in the carnal. But God gives us the power to rearrange our thoughts. Paul spells it out clearly. For those who live according to the flesh set their minds on the things of the flesh, but those who live according to the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, nor indeed can be. Romans 8:5-7. We must first win the battle in our own mind. We must be willing to discipline ourselves to be more Christ-like. We gym our body, but we forget to gym our mind. The Apostle Paul said, "I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your body a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Romans 12, 1-3. It's only by your mind being renewed by the Word of God that you truly change your character. Your mind is renewed to the degree that the Word of God dictates your behavior. Solomon said, "My son, give attention to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Do not let them depart from your eyes. Keep them in the midst of your heart, for they are life to those who find them, and health to all their flesh. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life." Proverbs 4, 20-23. Renewing your mind means thinking on the things of God during your whole day and disciplining your life according to what the Word says. The mind is the battleground, and we have to be militant to keep it subject to the Word of God. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds, casting down arguments, and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. 2 Corinthians 10:3-5. That's what renewing our mind is about. It is the effort of disciplining our thoughts to fall in line with the principles and the laws of God. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Ephesians 6:12. The key to staying in the Spirit and staying free from the attacks of the devil on our thoughts is to keep our mind aligned with the Word of God. All you have to do is answer the lies with the truth of God. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. Isaiah 59:19. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1:7.